one, we're never going to change the name of the Washington Redskins. And I think from a bottom line perspective, what it means is tradition. What it means is competitiveness. What it means is honor. It is not meant derogatory. And I think that to take it that way is just to be able to get a podium and speak from the standpoint of what it means to every fan. And that doesn't make a difference what the fan's religion, race, what have you. It means the same thing. It means tradition. It means greatness. It means fighting for the Redskins, fighting for Washington, D.C.
This is Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, in this defiant tone, is basically arguing that the term Redskin in the name of the team, Washington Redskins, is not in any way racist, but instead it is a term of honor. Is it a term, what he said, of tradition, and anybody that has issue with that is just trying to get to the podium to speak. Meaning you don't really have an issue, you just have an ego thing that you want to get your 15 minutes of fame of basically disparaging this honorable, this traditional honorable team, this greatness on the field. Think about what that means. People who were aggrieved and suffered in this case are trying to define themselves. And the term of derision that they're using is basically Redskins, derisive in and of itself, but also the context. I mean, if you have the Washington Panthers or the Washington Wildcats, the idea that you have the Washington Redskins, racist in and of itself, but in pursuit of a football team where many of the mascots are basically animalistic or have known to be wild animal-like. It's problematic on two fronts. But Snyder rebuffs all of that and says, if you have an issue with this, then you just want to get on the podium to speak. Basically, a guy comes out and calls the team the Washington Niggers, and the person says, no, you're saying that's a term of derision. This is a term of honor. Typically, the people who have suffered and aggrieved set the tenor of how they are defined, just like anybody else who will want to be self-defined. And taking the term Redskin and then using it in pursuit of the football thing and then just kind of obfuscating and saying, no, this is really a term of honor. This is not a term of derision. It is a term of derision. It is a racist term. And that racist term is on the football field week after week after week. I'm late to this issue. I came to the issue maybe 5 years ago. My wife and I went to a Native American convention. And I've said before, my grandfather's side has Native American, Cherokee. I think my grandfather was fourth. And so I developed an interest in things pertaining to Native American, just based on this kind of understanding that this is within my genes pool, just in my own lifespan. A guy, black kid, had on a Washington Redskins shirt. And as he went out to receive some kind of reward or something that he was being given away, they stopped the proceeding and made a statement basically saying, in the same way we would not say anything that is racist or offensive to you, we would hope that if you're coming to our event, that you would take the same sort of understanding of how violently offensive that slogan is. Walking around with that at one of our conventions is basically poking us in the eye over a history where you've stolen our land, murdered our people in this mass genocide, not even to the degree acknowledged in real terms the scale and the magnitude of that genocide. Continue to steal that land, by the way, and then have a football team to commodify the pain and anguish that had taken place with the Trail of Tears, with the murders, with the deportations across the river to Spain, from all of this violence to get it now commodified into a brand of football team. And that team telling you, no, your understanding of the term Redskin, you trying to define yourself as indigenous people in this particular society, is subordinate to us, the people who are trying to make profit, defining you. Well, in the wake of the George Floyd killing, you had all sorts of things that take place that basically change Snyder's opinion that you just heard. Right now, You had FedEx, which owns the naming rights to the team, to the Maryland-based stadium, threatened to pull the business dealings with the team unless the name was changed. 87 investment firms and shareholders also sent letters to executives at Nike, FedEx, PepsiCo, urging the companies to sever ties with the organization unless it changed the name. The 87 firms representing more than $620 billion in assets. Amazon, Walmart, and Nike, and other major retailers pulled the team's merchandise from the stores from the respective websites in recent weeks. The team had been using the name since 1933, and Snyder previously refused to even considering changing it, insisting it was honor. These are cosmetic changes. But an argument can be made that your public and population have to get to a bare bones minimum understanding of a hegemonic norm to even be able to deal with what they consider to be wrong in the new space of what it means to do something that they consider to be wrong. This is the lower rung of that. This organization had been dead set against changing this racist name, and it took all sorts of financial pressures, basically, to compel them to do just that. It is unclear what this name is going to be. People were saying the Washington Warriors. Part of the problem that Washington Redskins are having right now is that many of the names have been bought up, and the name apparently that they wanted is stuck in some kind of litigation over copyright. So even though they've announced that they are changing the name today, the name change and what that is going to be is still unclear at the moment. But they should have changed this a long time ago. Yeah, like I said, I was late to this. But when I noticed that this was something that plagued them deeply, I don't necessarily think it's an absolute that the community can define whatever is an aspect of pain. But I would say in this very specific case, I think an objective point of view gives some level of credence to maybe you don't want to necessarily be defined by the group that committed the genocide. And this basically allows that to take place using a slur. It's being changed. Good. I'm enthused, don't misunderstand me, but my focus is on more than just the sublime stuff. These are underpinnings. I want the overt sense of policy from a standpoint of federal government to change. And I understand that there's underlying bits that have to take place in order for that to seep and bubble up to the top. But still, I just kind of want to see whether or not the protests, the movement that is taking place right now, ends up with real material changes in the political space that the public demands because the public just regards it as necessary. Until I see that, this comes to be token for me, even though it's a token that I absolutely, perfectly appreciate being taken down. Like, share, subscribe.